Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Scribbling Angel again. I was asked to do a tutorial on how to draw a manga face. Now this is only the beginning of several videos, I hope. So if I don't go into detail about things like the eyes and such, that's because this is a very basic video. This is simply talking about proportions and how to properly space the features of a face in a manga face. Now, first of all, I start with the eyes personally. If you go watch any other tutorial, if you go get a how to draw book, you will always notice that they always start on with the outside of the face. The reason why I don't do this is because I just cannot get it down. I'm not able to do it. So I start with the eyes. This handicaps me because it forces me to draw everything else based on where I place the eyes. And all my proportions are based on the eyes. So I would suggest do what they say, practice with starting on the outside of the face, the shape of the face first, and then work on the eyes. So right here I am simply judging where about the center is of the face, and once I get that down, then I can begin working on the shape of the face. So now that I've judged the center of the face, I begin working on the cheek. You'll see that the cheek protrudes further out, like right below the eye. This is very natural. If you look in the mirror, you'll see that. Also, you will see that the chin comes down to right about where center is, the center of the face is. It's very important that you know how to judge the center of the face. Then we move on to the brow. As you can see, the brow protrudes further than the cheek. Again, this is another very general thing, that general rule of thumb that you'll see very commonly in art. Then you draw the other eyebrow, and again, it's all based on the eyes and where I place them. But if you were to draw them after drawing the face, you would draw them based on where bone below the eyebrow is. Then I move on to the mouth and the nose. Now, one thing about the mouth that I will say is that it's important that wherever you place it, it will really determine the age of your character usually. The further down they are, the more they are closer to middle-aged people. Very young people have their mouths and nose closer to their eyes. So that's just a kind of a gee whiz. Now, I'm not satisfied where I put the nose and the mouth, so I end up erasing and bringing them closer because I want this character to be a little younger than what they are right now. Now I redo the chin. Again, this is all based on my desire to make them a little younger. I bring up the chin slightly, and I also make it a little more curved, a little less jagged. This allows me to have a very soft looking face. Again, I'm not satisfied with exactly how the eyebrows are. This is why it's very important to draw very lightly if you're using pencils, because it gives you the ability to erase without marring up your paper. Now I work on the ear. One thing about the ear is that a general rule of thumb is that the top of the ear comes up to about the top of the eye, and then the bottom of the ear comes down to roughly the bottom of the nose. This will not always be the case, but it's usually what happens. So if you're going to draw the ear, make sure that it's in between those two areas. If you have it above there, it's going to look a little odd. Now I begin working on the rest of the head, the rest of the shape of the head as well as the neck, getting down the shape of the skull and where the skin ends. You will note that the majority of the head is actually in the head and not the face. This is because the faces are generally a lot more squished than the rest of the forehead and such. Now, when you're drawing the scalp, when you're drawing the hairline, you will note a very common thing is that the eyes are usually right in between the bottom of the jaw and the top of the hairline. This is very, 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 very common. It's very uncommon for your characters to do this if you're doing a very average Joe looking manga character. You will see that these two lines that I'm drawing on the sides of the face, these are where the face pretty much ends, and where the eyes will come up to right on the edge. They are roughly in between the beginning of the ear and the center of the face. Now, if you judge these as I'm drawing these perspective lines, you'll see that the lines move out. Again, this is all because of perspective. It's important to implement perspective into your artwork, even in a manga face. Most of the time, it comes very naturally, but for some of you, this may not be as natural. So it's very important that you study perspective. Objects that are closer get bigger. Objects that are further away get smaller. When it comes to the eyes, it's very important that you do not over exaggerate one eye. The eye that's closest has no need to be ginormous. This is one thing that I see in a lot of manga artists, is that they accidentally draw one eye way too big. You can see that in my eye right here, it's actually a little smaller than the other. That is because this person is squinting with one eye. So it's important that you watch for that. You make sure that one eye is not way bigger than the other, that it is only a slight variation in size. Now I go over my work after I've done something, my very basic sketch here with ink. If you're using pencils, you may go over it with a thicker pencil, or you may go over it a much harder with that pencil. Now you will notice that the width of the eye also varies. An eye that is on the opposite side of the face is going to be a much thinner than the eye closest. That is because you're able to see that eye much more clear. The other one is more folded with the perspective. This one's about half the size of the one closest. Now, whenever drawing the face, the outline of the face is very important that the thickness of your lines varies. It makes your artwork stand out more. Now, when you want to make the chin more definite, you're going to thicken the chin. But if you want a more feminine or a more young looking face, you're going to want to keep that line pretty thin. Now, when I'm drawing the mouth, another very general rule of thumb is that from the bottom of the eye to the bottom of the chin, right in between there is about where the eye is going to be, very roughly. There are exceptions to this rule, but that's the general rule of thumb. And then the nose is going to be pretty much anywhere you want it in between the mouth and the eyes. It's going to be closer, the bottom of the nose is going to be closer to the upper lip. So keep that in mind, that you want that to be a fairly small area. Now, as you can see, an average nose is too detailed for manga, so it's important just to draw a line around it, and then maybe fill it in with another line, or maybe do a shape for the inner nostril. And then when you move on to the eyebrows, eyebrows vary in size based on gender, based on age, based on appearance, just their appearance. So you can have a lot of fun with the eyebrows. It's important, though, that when you're drawing an eyebrow, where they start and end should match each other. These eyes, you see, come up to right along the bridge of the nose, and then they end. The bridge of the nose is closer to the eye that is farthest away from you. That is because, again, of perspective. So always judge everything based on perspective. Study real live faces and study manga faces by good artists. It will help you with your own perspective. yeah, the best thing I can say is study and draw and practice. Now we move on to the ears. Ears are a lot of fun to draw. If you have trouble drawing ears, then I would say just sit down, practice them, look at some real life pictures of people, and practice drawing their ears. Try to make it very simplistic using only lines. And once you get them down, they become a very simple thing to draw, a very relaxing thing to draw. Now you'll see that the top of the ear is a half moon right there. And this is just the flesh, the fold of flesh at the very top of your ear. You can feel it if you just feel your ear. Then it will come in, indent, and then there'll be a little piece of flesh that goes out. And then it will curve around, and there will be another piece of flesh that comes in towards the ear more. And then it will come around and go into that fold in the ear, making a Y kind of going into the ear. A very, very basic thing to draw, and doesn't really vary too much with people. Usually most ears look pretty much the same. The lobe is the only thing that will really change. Also the pointiness of the ear and how the bends in the ear. But most of those are very basic, and you can have a lot of fun drawing them. When you're drawing an ear that is pointed away from you, like I'm doing here on the other side of the face, you will not be able to see literally anything of the ear. That is because of perspective again. So just study faces, study your own face in the mirror, and see what it looks like away from the when you look straight at it, and when you look at it, the ear from an angle. Now we move on to the neck. One thing about the neck is that the neck comes up, and for manga characters it's very, very skinny. So keep that in mind, is that it's actually disproportionately skinny, and it doesn't always match. Now the hair for this character here comes out quite a ways away from the head. That is simply because hair does that naturally. I mean, you look at anyone's hair, you feel your own hair, you can push it down towards your scalp. This character that I'm doing now has spiky hair, so his hair comes out quite a ways from his scalp. So once you've done a very basic face, then you can add smaller details, different things with the face and the hair and such like that. You can add shading however you want. That's another one that's very important, not to overdo shading. Manga keeps it very simple. The art is always very, very simple, shading only major areas. I hope that this tutorial has helped. I hope that if you're watching, that you take some time to go practice it yourself, and again, go examine your own face and see how the proportions of your face work. And that's the best I can do. So thank you for watching. If you really enjoyed this video, please subscribe if you want to see more. Also, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Again, thank you, and see you later.